we go, Aaron Macy. We're back for another week of They Don't Want It. 1 week healthier, mate. Still not 100.
Mate, the man flu has killed me.
Fucking influenza, eh? Like we spoke about it last week. I'm sort of still not where I want to be, but on the mend. On the mend, mate. And after another exciting week of footy for my doggies,
Mate,
I'm representing.
You've got the doggies jumper on.
Look at this. So what's this jumper called again, Tommy? Mitchell and Ness, right? So this was given to me as a gift. It's got all the old Bulldog emblems on there. And if you see here, all the premiers. So the last one was yours truly in 2004. And Steve Crichton and Cameron Ciraldo were going to go on and win in 2024, mate. So exciting. How was your weekend?
Mate, my weekend was good. I was just looking though. We've only got 5 more rounds of the footy.
Crazy.
I swear as soon as Origin finishes, it's almost finals. Spring Carnival starts.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about the last 5 rounds and kind of the mindset of players that are in the 8 and outside the 8. So we'll get to that later on in the show. But let's start with Freak of the Week. Obviously, look, people are going to start thinking this is a Bulldog podcast. But
this show is brought to you by the Dogs.
Yeah, by the Dogs. So, mate, look, Steve Crichton, again, just that 2 solo efforts.
Yeah.
Goes through, diffuses that bomb, passes off to the Fox. It's good to see the Fox back as well. And a really tough challenge for the Dogs. And I was really nervous about that game because I know what kind of team Canberra are and I know what Ricky Stewart's like, that siege mentality. They really stuck it to the Dogs. We can break it down in a second. But Critta, again, captain's knock, freak of a talent. They don't win without him in the side.
No.
So once again, my freak of the week goes to a Canterbury player, and I can't go past Critta.
Well, I'm going to keep the theme, and I'm going to stick with the Chookie.
Yeah, fancy that. That.
I will say they were far from impressive, but one player who stood out is probably one of the performances of the whole week was Sam Walker.
Yeah, break it down, mate, because I didn't get to watch the game in entirety. So,
mate, he scored 24 points.
Wow,
of the 40.
Yeah,
2 tries, which were just complete solo efforts.
Yeah,
he looked like because he's still small. He did look like a 16-year-old boy against grown men.
I'll tell you what,
and he looked like Lionel Messi on a football field, just kicking it around like it's park footy.
There's one thing that makes him not look like a little boy is his hairline. He definitely began a turkey old.
I'll be going
young
with him.
fella, young Sam Walker, mate. It's getting a bit further back. Those cul-de-sacs are starting to really, you know what I mean. So, mate, the thing with Sam Walker for me, he's probably the best instinctive player that I've seen in a while in terms of so. Cameron Munster and Cody Walker are my 2 favourite footballers when it comes to playing off the cuff. And then Sam Walker's like taking it to another level. Can you build a team around Sam Walker? Do you think he's half that takes Roosters into the future and win multiple premierships?
So I'll tell you this. And there's definitely concerns at the moment with some of the points that they've leaked, like 34 points against
not good,
same as the week before. But if you go back and look at them from last year, and this team has become far more Sam Walker's team.
Yep.
One thing East are doing this year is scoring a lot of points. And that was the thing that I think a lot of people said, East don't have points. They look so fucking boring for so long. They looked, ever since like Cooper had gone and they lost that structure and then Kiri used to play off the cuff, they haven't had that excitement in them where East are a team that can score a lot of points. And I think the reason they can probably still win a comp, if they can tidy their shit up, is they've got the firepower and they've got that off-the-cuff stuff that can shake your Penrith, your Dogs.
I'll give you two things that I think they're missing or why their attack has become a lot more points-orientated.
Mm-hmm.
Bradley getting out of the 13 and going to an edge. So Walker's obviously on ball more.
Yeah.
I think that's a defining factor of them scoring a lot more points. And 2, why I don't think their defensive structure or their resilience or their steel in their defensive side is Hargraves being out. They're missing their enforcer. And he's 34, 35 and retiring.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of a concern moving forward down the track. Like who's going to step into those shoes? And I think Jared might be back this week. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I think when I watch Jared's game and I tell kids when you look at marker detail,
Yeah.
look at JWH's marker detail.
Yeah.
He's
in why? Explain it.
So he'll always create space off the play the ball. He'll point. He'll know what way he's going to go, and he know that he's going to attack the 9 and then get off the 9 and go to a ball carrier. His detail at marker is one of the best I've seen. And that's from the first minute to the 80th minute. Even under fatigue, his detail around the ruck is outstanding, and that could be a factor going into why the Roosters' defensive line might be a little bit uneasy. So I'm not willing to write the Roosters off because they've probably their 1 to 17 is the most talented in the competition across the board. They're just missing something. And Robbo's sides are generally good defenders, but they're just leaking far too many points and too many easy tries, and maybe a lack of experience around the ruck in A and B and C defenders, which obviously has a domino effect spreading across the line. But I still, I was sold on the Roosters a couple of weeks ago.
3 weeks ago, you said I've got them favourite.
Yeah, but I thought, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks after Origin, they will start finding their straps. I think if I don't see it with Jared coming back in the side, it's going to be a bit of a concern. And you've got to think about the amount of players that went into that Origin camp as well. So you've got your forward pack in Spencer, Lindsay Collins, Crichton. There was a lot of intensity that went into that Origin and a lot of energy that they would have, that's a small season within a season. So 5 rounds to go. They want to start finding some defensive resolve.
Definitely.
For me to go, okay, they can challenge, because there's only one other team that I feel like can challenge Penrith and Melbourne, and I think that's the Dogs.
Yeah. I think 2 weeks ago we saw that attacking prowess that they have. I know I could sense it in you in the way when we were doing the preview that Canberra game was even though it was at home.
Yeah.
As you said, Sticky has that Braveheart mentality on the bus trolling in. Yeah. And mate, they stuck it to you. And one thing that Canberra can do is stick it to teams, turn it into a grind.
Yeah.
And go, tell me.
So it's basically Canberra. I've played under Ricky, test level, Sharks, Parramatta. Yeah. I know how motivating he can be as a coach. When your back's against the wall, you're going into enemy territory and that siege mentality. You're like on the bus, you're going into Belmore, 18,000 Dogs fans. He had his team ready for it, and it kind of. I was nervous because they've let the Cowboys game slip, the Dogs.
Yeah.
There's probably 3 or 4 other games. There's 8 points in the competition this year that they've left behind. So I thought, you're playing at Belmore, you're coming up against a big test in a Ricky Stewart side. I am not completely happy with the performance. I don't think we played that well. I think they're such a big pack, and they kind of exposed the smaller pack that we have is in the Dogs, right? So Tapane was running amok. He was hard to bring down. They're getting 2-3 defenders. He's getting offloads. He was making good meters. Their kick return meters were making 50 meters. Off kickoff, they were rolling down the field 60 meters. For me, who I think to go potentially be a top 4 side who can challenge for the premiership.
Yeah,
that's one area that's really concerning for a Dogs fan.
So how do you fix
it? Like Tapane, like this is individuals in that forward pack that they're naturally smaller guys like Kurtman, Moran, Sam Hughes is a big guy, but he hasn't really developed in his body. Jacob Preston, he's been a beast. No one can tackle him at the moment. So he's a big body, Kicks, another big body.
Yeah.
But if our middles are isolated against bigger packs, as in Melbourne, as in Penrith, as in Roosters, we could be in trouble.
Yeah.
There's a lot of meters to be made around that pack if our smaller defenders are isolated, right? So to win this competition, our smaller guys who are doing like Kurt Mann, those guys are doing a fantastic job. They've got to get up around the ball. They've got to commit for 80 minutes, wait for your inside defenders to help, because we can't be having
Does it mean it means that your line speed almost has to be that half a metre, even
their line speed
faster?
Their line speed's good, right? And their contact is good. It's just the fact of the matter that these sides are bigger teams.
Yeah.
You got Leota coming off the back fence, Fisher Harris coming off the back fence, Yowie 6'5". You go to Angus Crichton, Jared, Lindsay Collins, big boys. You go to Melbourne, you got Nelson, and all the likes. You see where I'm getting with this. These guys are bigger packs that they can really get joy around the middle of the field with the Canterbury side. Yes, they're the second best defensive side in the competition, but when you're coming up against these bigger competitions and then these bigger packs, and you're going to have to get more defenders into tackles, we're going to be scrambling a lot more. I have faith in them, but we were exposed to having a smaller pack on the weekend, and my perfect example was watching Tapane, who's a big front rower who was able to get his arms free, create two or three, butt one off, pull back, create a bit of a little bit of chaos within the Dogs line. Yeah. They were able to scramble well and cover it and fix it. But when you're coming down into a prelim or some sort of semi-final, we've got to be bang on.
Well, I think it's going to be a good test, and we can talk about another game, and it's going to be a lead into this week's game. The Dragons, they got some big props. They stepped up, and they broke a 25-year hoodoo down in Melbourne.
Yeah. Look, they did well. They've overachieved. Everyone sort of wrote them off. And, Shane Flanagan's side, they're another team that probably should have won more games. That they left a lot of points within the competition. And their consistency has been too far up and down where they'll, get a good win and then lose to a Penrith by 40 or something like that. So they're still trying to find their consistency, but doing enough to get through to the win. If you're a young kid and you're watching this podcast, go on YouTube and look at Bulldogs 2006 versus Dragons at Oakey Jubilee, how the Dogs conduct business. Now, this is a packed Oakey Jubilee in 06. It's a 10-minute clip. And we were both on the top of the competition, so we had Nate Miles, we had Mace, we had Bobcat, myself, Sonny Bill in the forward pack, Tony Grimaldi, Adam Perry. They had Bailey, they had Matt Cooper, Gasnier, Hornby.
Wow!
This was a top of the table clash, and there was trouble in the stands. I think some Dragons fans were selling some Bulldogs merchandise, taking the piss out of Bulldogs supporters. So this is a massive rivalry, and I heard it's already sold out.
It was a sellout.
This is huge game, but just if you're watching this, go back and watch this clip.
What's it like going there for these sort of games? What was that like?
I didn't get to play too many Suburbans because I was coming through the era of the Showground or Homebush. And this game sticks out in my mind as the most brutal game of rugby league in the regular season that I've ever played in.
Wow.
You look at O'Mealy coming out of the line, Roy Asatasi, Nate Miles, Sonny, Mace. You watch this 10-minute clip and there's no such thing as a wrestle. It's just chaos, collision. And it's fucking 10 minutes of that. It's unreal.
It's like old school Origin.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward for the players. Now they've just played at Belmore. Now they get to go into Oakey.
Yeah, they get to do what Canberra tried to do.
And Bulldogs, Dragons fans, you've probably got different areas of the Lebanese community,
Yeah, definitely.
You got the Cogra Lebanese, and then you've got the ones out in Belmore. I'm sure there's a bit of a rivalry there. So I'm looking for this is another sellout.
This is also going to be this is going to be a loud crowd. This is going to be you don't want to be dropping the ball because you're going to be you drop the ball, you're hearing screams from the other team.
Yeah.
It's just they don't want to. They're yelling.
The thing about Oakey is that you're so far away from the fence is still pretty far away. It's more of a sort of SCG sort of feel.
Yeah, okay.
But a great place to play and a great rivalry and a massive game this week. Another massive game. Because I'm going to have my Bulldogs hat on all podcasts. You can know I'm a dog. I'm a dog and a dog fan. Again, we need to finish top 4, Canterbury.
Yeah.
we need to have 2 cracks at it. We don't want to fall back into that 7th, 8th, where 9th, 10th, where everyone's jostling for that spot. So I think we need to really challenge. I think the Roosters are above us at the moment, and then the Cowboys will be coming.
It's like if you look at it right now, you've got first and second are going to run. Looks like we'll run 1-2 in the Storm and the Panthers.
Yeah.
Now Storm were not impressive, but then you've got the Sharks who sit just above you on the extra 2 points, who have now lost Braden Trindle to a hammy. Not sure how long yet, but they're starting to look pretty depleted in the halves.
Yeah,
they were far from impressive against South, who's a depleted side in itself.
Well, you could argue that the Cowboys are finding some form.
Yes,
they beat the Dogs, and then they played. Who did they play last week?
The other thing that the Cowboys have, they still have a bye up their sleeve, and that's the other thing that the Roosters have.
They didn't play last week, did they?
No, they played last week. They played Tigers.
Sorry, they did play Tigers. Yes.
So they've won 2 in a row, and they can see their players are another week's rested from Origin. Mm-hmm.
They've got a bye up their sleeve. So I think you will have Cowboys, Roosters, and Dogs fighting over 3rd and 4th.
Yeah.
I think Sharks, unfortunately, could be sliding right down to maybe 7th or 8th.
They could be sliding out. And the thing is, that last game is Cowboys Bulldogs.
Yeah,
that could contest the 4.
2007, we played Cowboys up there, and it was to finish maybe in the top 4 or something, and then we had to fly back the following week and play them in a semi-final up there.
Yeah.
So that's tough. And I dare say that can happen. So if Cowboys finish 4th, right, and then we finish 5th or whatever, however that works, or no, they get 2 cracks at it, sorry. But, flying back to – you don't want to play Cowboys up there are tough, man.
And the issue is as well, when you've got – and this is what kind of happened with Roosters South last year when East knocked South out because they're playing for that 8 position. This is different. This is when you're playing for that 4 position.
Yeah.
To me, I think this game almost turns into it's an extra week of semi-finals because it's like semi-final footy because you're playing so hard for that position to finish 4th.
Well, you got Roosters, Sharks, Dogs, Cowboys fighting for that 3 and 4.
Yeah.
And then you've got the rest fighting for 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
5, 6, 7, 8. Obviously someone can drop back from there. So some interesting games ahead, and and your mindset in the last 5 weeks of a competition is so important. So important. Like you got 2 different mindsets, right? So if you go the mindset of a team that's outside the 8, right, we can't make it.
Yeah.
From rounds 18 to 26, it's a slog, man. And you can, no matter how hard you train, you don't turn up and expect to lose. Like you've been training hard. Every injury hurts that 10% more.
Yeah.
Every niggle is that 10% more. You're training hard. You don't want to embarrass. You want to turn up for your fans. You want to do it. As soon as things get hard on the field, it just the bounce of the ball doesn't go your way. Then all of a sudden, those games become even harder and harder and harder. And that's the mindset of someone outside the 8 that can't make it. Like you're almost thinking, fuck, I just want this season to finish. I want to go overseas. I want to spend time with my family.
Yeah.
It's just a natural reaction,
It's human nature.
It's human nature. And fans don't want to hear that. But, players are human as well. You've had the worst year. You've been training your ass since October the previous year, and you're just like, I'm done. And then you've got the mindset of the teams that are in the 8 or the teams that say in the 6 or some teams that are guaranteed to be in there. Those injuries, you have the same amount of injuries as those players outside the 8, but then they hurt 5% less.
Yeah.
You're taking more care of your body. You're in recovery, but so those last 5 rounds, you're like, don't fucking get injured. Let's get through. Let's get the win. Let's work on what we're trying to achieve. Like, I'll give you an example. You look at where the Dogs are, coming off a good win, full of beans, exciting the crowds. You got packing out Belmore, and then you got Melbourne, who go, oh fuck, we might lose the minor premiership here.
Yeah,
we've let one slip down against the Dragons down in Melbourne. Is that a sign of there could be a little bit of a slump in form because they've been doing so well throughout the season?
Yeah.
Or is it just like, there's a little hiccup, we'll get through it.
Or is it them just taking the foot off the pedal just for a little bit just before we rip into the finals?
Yeah. So these last 5 weeks, is like the contrast in mentality between someone that's not in the 8 and someone who's in the 8 is so fucking different, man. And we went on that run in 04, we went on that run in 06. I got surgery a week before the semi-final. Sorry, after the last game of the regular season in 06, Roy Stasi and I went in for surgery and we played 2 weeks later. There was probably a 3 or 4 week injury, but that's your mindset is that, I just want to semi-finals. You want to play. Whereas you're not going to make the 8, it could be around like 20. I'm not going to try and get back for around 24, 25, 26. So it's a rough time. It's this completely contrasting
different mindset.
And I just to go on a slight tangent, I feel like the season could be like 5-6 rounds too long. I think for the longevity of our elite players, we can bring test footy in, and that's probably another podcast, another conversation. I think we need to bring it back to about 20 games.
Yeah, interesting.
But it's to see different mindsets going into the next 5 rounds. You'll know who's in a good mindset and who's not.
I'll relate it back to something I'm doing in betting. So a lot of the year, the teams that have been backing with the plus has been getting up. But when you hear this, like the last 5 rounds, there's some of these massive minuses where the short price favourites, they come out and absolutely clean teams out because I'm assuming mindset. Because essentially, like it's West Tigers, Eels, Rabbitohs, Broncos, Warriors, Knights. It's non-competitive. You're almost playing non-competitive footy because you're no longer in the con.
Yeah, it's
and that must be a hard thing for a coach that wants to try and get his team up.
It's a strange feel. Because like I said, the finishing line's there. You're not happy with your season. You do everything you can at training. You're training hard. You're upbeat. Come on, boys, let's finish the last 5 rounds with a bit of pride, give our fans something to cheer about. But as soon as things get hard, there's this something in your mind that just stops you from taking that extra step. Oh, I'm not going to stick my arm out there. I'm not going to take that extra carry.
Yeah.
It's fact. I'm not making that shit up.
Of course not.
Right? It's fact that your body will sometimes mind will pull you back from doing that extra step when you know that you're not a chance within the semi-finals. And it's unfortunate, but that's not just rugby league. That's team sport in general.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about coaches.
Yeah.
There's talk about who's going to be coach of the year as we get closer and closer to the Dally M's. Ciraldo's name's put forward as probably number 1.
Yeah.
There's talk of Shane Flanagan because what he's done with the Dragons. They're just inside the top 8.
Yep.
I think they were equal favourites to run last with the Tigers or close to. So what he's done an exceptional effort. My question is, you've got a team like the Panthers. Cleary is a chance of going 4 in a row. And this is a team that's had his son missing for a big part of the season, being the best half in the comp. They lost Taylor May to off-field incidents.
Fisher Harris has missed a couple of games. Yowie through Origin. Edwards has missed some footy.
Do you almost feel like some of the coaches that have obviously good cattle almost get forgotten about in question?
I completely get what you're saying. And there's no doubt that Ivan Cleary is the best coach in the game. And the proof's in the pudding, right? So he's going for his 4th in a row. He's been in 5 grand finals.
He's lost
There's
key
no
plays
denying that, right? I think it's between him and Ciraldo. Flano, yep, you've done a great job. Considering where you've come from last year, you've got the team up into the 8. They're doing quite well. Ciraldo, you can't go from a team that was completely last in defensive ability last year and then be second and then potentially going to finish top 4 and then potentially going for a premiership. So it's got to go to Ciraldo. What he's done, come on. Ivan has had a great system in place for 4 or 5 years. He's got He's kept the competitive side going, even with a number of injuries. There is no other coaches between him and Ciraldo. If Dolphins stayed up in the conversation, I think they're on a bit of a downward slope. Then you could argue that Wayne would be up there.
I think even like Sticky, you got to give massive kudos to Sticky because that Ross, like they're borderline, Sticky.
Yeah,
I'll ask him, all right. So if they win this year, Penrith, and then next year they're in the GF again, but Benji's got his team into the top 4.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Do you know what I mean?
I get your argument, but let's just stick with the Dogs here, right? You're going to have
Welcome back to another episode of the Dogs.
This is another thing. You'll have Crichton in Team of the Year, Centre of the Year, Captain of the Year. Like, is there any other awards he can't win?
You know what? You brought up a great point a few episodes ago when you called him one of the most influential players of the modern era.
I copped shit for that.
No, but it's funny because I saw Braith came out, good old Bobby, and he said something similar to what you said. And you know what? I've watched it week after week after week after you said it, and isn't like I don't think he's the most talented player, but
close
he's not.
To it.
Well, he's very close. Like he is close
to
but but you know what? It's the aura. It's what he does for everyone around him. Like I reckon it's one of the best things you said on the whole show.
I cop shit for that. I read comments. I see where everyone's like, "Oh, pull up, settle down." Like I don't know what I'm fucking talking about, mate. His aura, and I didn't say he's one of the most influential on a game. He was influential on the game. He was the most influential on a group,
on a playing group
I've seen in the modern era.
Yeah.
He's got Sonny Bill vibes to him.
Yeah,
I've got Sonny Bill feels when I look at Steve Crichton. I watch him walk around. He's big boy, a big, good-looking kid. He's got a strut, and you cannot help but be drawn to his character.
Do you know what he looks like? He looks like an Avenger.
He should go into acting. I had coffee with Mace and CJ on the weekend, right? And we'll talk. And that's one name we brought up. So we're talking about acting, and obviously Mace has gone into acting, and CJ's doing his thing. And one person we said, we go, you know who would be a good actor? Stephen be good Crichton. In the brown, a good brown skinned kid, Polynesian boy, Steve Crichton.
Yeah.
And then when CJ was telling me the kind of money he makes, I'm like, hey, Critta, bro, go find an agent and get yourself into some movies, man. But this is
But do you know what he looks like? Look, he looks like a Samoan 300 when he's out there, and he just rallies the troops.
But all in all,
but not just like on a crazy level. He does it on a calm level.
Mate, his aura. It's like everyone's drawn to the kid, right? And that was my point. He was the most influential on a group that I've seen in a long time.
And you know what it is? It's when and even at the park level and playing footy growing up, like even as a half, when you've got that. Like I played at Kenzo like yourself, and I played in an almost all Samoan team. But you'd have couple of those big Samoan boys and little as look after you. It's calming, and it allows you to play your football better. And he has that influence on that group. You can just see it, and they exude confidence from it.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you one thing there is about footballers. Rugby league players are the most insecure people on this earth. And when you look at across and I'm not saying all, but most footy players – most young footy players are fucking very insecure,
Definitely.
Right? And when you have a person like Stephen Crichton and you can look across and that's my captain, he's there for me, and that father figure identity, that brings the best out in these players.
Definitely.
You need someone to lead you. Hey, if he can do it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
If he's going to do that, I'm going to sacrifice that, do this, and that. They bring the best out in the players around them. So that's why I said a few weeks ago when people gave me shit about that comment. And I stand by it. He's the most influential person I've seen on a footy team in the modern era. Bar none.
Talking about influence on a playing group, there's something that was talked about, I think, on NRL 360. I think the Levels boys mentioned it. It was on Brisbane, and it was... they're saying whether Reynolds should be captain and whether Paddy Carrigan should be captain.
Yeah.
Do you think there needs to be a change of the guard at the start of next year?
No.
Do you stand by Reynolds?
I stand by Reynolds. I stand by Carrigan as being maybe a VC.
Yeah.
Like, that's your general, that's your chief, there's no one else stepping up outside of Carrigan and Huss.
Yeah.
Like, I watch back rowers closely, and I don't even want to go down this part, but Jordan Ricky, right? He's the international back rower for New Zealand who fucking flogged Australia. He's been disappointing this year, man.
Yeah.
Like, I really admire Jordan Ricky and the way he plays, but he has been nowhere near where he was last year as a back rower. Ezra Mam has just not. I'm just not seeing the same sort of confidence. And this is all confidence, right?
All confidence.
Because this fucking team is great and they're all great players. But you can't expect Carrigan and Huss to carry that team every week.
No.
You know, and someone like Jordan who's so talented as a back rower, I just haven't seen the same punch, the same aggression that I saw in last year. And that just goes across the board.
Yeah.
Katoni's been showing us glimpses or flashes of brilliance in the game where you go, wow. Look at that, you know. Yeah. Again, he can't do it all himself. Like collectively, I like I said, they're a team of individuals. They don't look like a team that's galvanized and like we're here for each other. We're going to do it for each other. They're just there's so much lack of confidence, injury. It just seems a little bit disjointed. No, I'm not suggesting any sort of dramas amongst the playing group.
No.
Just looks disjointed. Doesn't look galvanized. They don't look like a Brisbane team.
Yeah.
You know, and you can't, and every week that I turn that TV on, I watch Payne Haas and I watch Carrigan just performing at the highest level week in, week out. And Adam Reynolds, what he's done at South, he's won a premiership. He's your halfback. He's your chief operator.
Yeah.
He's the captain. There is no fucking, I feel extra pressure. No. He's been around fucking for 200 plus, 250 games, however many games.
Yeah.
The C against his name is what he wants. He wants that added responsibility. Taking it away from him doesn't free him up.
No,
I'm
not
fucking
at all.
sick of that argument. Oh, it frees him up. No, he's a leader. He wants to be barking orders. He wants to tell his team where to go. They're just not playing well. Adam Reynolds, captain all day.
I'm going to throw a funny one at you. Forwards as captains against backs as captains, and we've got a captain's challenge. Forwards haven't been renowned for being the smartest players.
As long as a winger's not making a fucking decision, right? Some winger comes flying in and going, challenge it. You're like, nah. Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean,
do we keep it in the
because
back?
we keep, as forwards, right, we want such high completion rate.
Yeah.
You know that when there's an error, you think about the EDLs, all the things that are coming up in video, like, fuck, I need to challenge that because I don't need that mark against my name in the next video session because I know I'm getting hammered. So that's where you start thinking, challenge. Whereas the halfback is just like a little bit more reserved. They've got a bit more oxygen in the lungs. They can sort of, I liked when, like, even when Ben Hunt said to Lomax, mate, shut up. We're not challenging it. Halfback. So if you're going to give one chief operator, someone to make those decisions for a captain's challenge, leave it to the halfbacks, mate.
I reckon even if you've got a forward that's a captain, you have like the captain's challenge.
Can you
player
phone a
is still
friend?
the half. Yeah, you phone a friend. Captain's challenge goes to the half at all times.
Nah, look, all in all, Brisbane, I said my piece last week, thought Kevy's going to be coming under review this year. And I just feel like it's just one of those years that just didn't work out for them.
Yeah.
I feel like they're going to be a dangerous team next year, though. When you have a up year and then you slip, you going into that preseason, you're like, hey, we're fucking coming back. We're going to prove to you that it was just a bad year. So for me, they're not going to make the 8. They're done.
They're gone. The season's
done.
But
they're going to be dangerous next year.
I think
they're going to be very dangerous.
Reynolds staying sound is one of the most important things to them, and
they've got to look at life after Reno as well. So we want Reno to stay fit.
I was reading that Toby Sexton could be the person that
whoever it is, right? So you as a Brisbane operator, and I'm thinking long term, I'm looking for that next kid. And I'm putting that kid with Reynolds at every training session, every away trip. They're bunkered down. They're picking his brain. They're getting everything they can possibly get from him. God willing that he stays fit for the whole year. but you're thinking about the future now, and you're putting Ezra Mam next to him and saying, Ezra, this is your team next year, bro. Fucking just be a sponge and learn as much as you can from Reno. If Reno's staying back an extra hour at training,
you're
practicing, you're staying an extra 2 hours.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to take over this side, mate. You are the future of this team, Ezra. Your talent is unmatched on your day. You are that good. So this next year, Reno probably more than likely going to be in his last year. I'd be just sucking every bit of knowledge out of Reno that I can possibly get.
Yeah. A little bit of news coming out. Probably one of the, when you talk about exciting halves, flashy halves, that I think someone would probably become the complete package later in his career. Yeah. Shaun Johnson.
Yeah. Retirement. Look, you look back on SJ and you think about Benji, you know, and like what he did as a young half and coming out of NZ and the footwork, and then SJ came along, and you know he's given great service to the game.
Unbelievable.
He's been unbelievable for a longer period. He probably was a more of a structured half over Benji. He could play within a structure, but he still had the footwork and the flash.
Yeah.
And, look, SJ's got nothing to prove anymore, and you're retired a long time, and his body. You don't need to be copping that beating. I just saw he recently started his own podcast. He's a handsome kid, and he speaks well. He's going to have a future in media. He's going to be around the game, and I'm sure he's going to do great things for the Warriors, teaching the next sort of halves come along. I saw he's a little bit upset, but that's just the natural process of being a sportsman, and that's life's natural process, that your body just goes at some point, and you don't need to some people are that stubborn that they play that extra year too long.
Yeah.
And we all probably wrote off SJ. I thought he should have retired last year, and then he had that year.
And look, maybe in hindsight this year, probably you could almost say wish he did, because he's obviously nursed a lot of injuries this year and didn't have the season he would have hoped for.
No.
But the Roosters were looking at signing him a year ago.
Yeah.
I
feel like he's probably got enough things going on off the field to keep him around the game.
Definitely.
And he doesn't need to prove anything. So congratulations to Shaun Johnson on an amazing career, mate. And you've been a huge role model for not only halves, but, you know, especially the young kids in New Zealand.
Definitely.
So, yeah.
I like that you made the comparison to Benji, because there was obviously that massive flashy element to him. And I have this argument with Bo Champion all the time. And look, I actually forgot how good Benji was when he was young. But one criticism that I have as someone watching it in comparison was I don't think he developed that structured game in the way that Shaun Johnson probably has. Like Benji that's not taking anything away from Benji, because Benji's a superstar.
Yeah.
But I think in the back end of his career, when he did lose his speed, he didn't develop into the same sort of half that Shaun. But I almost think Shaun Johnson became a better player when he lost half a yard of pace.
Without Stacey Jones, there's no Benji. Without Benji, there's no Shaun Johnson.
Yeah.
It's just a changing of the guard that's going. And there's so much fucking talent in New Zealand, man. Like, it's only a matter of time before more rugby union kids are coming back over to the league. And guys like Stacey, Benji, and Shaun.
Who's next?
Who's the pioneers for that club? I don't know. There's probably some kid coming through.
Yeah.
There's probably some kid there waiting. You know, there's playing under 14s, under 15s, under 16s who've admired those players growing up. You know, would have seen the back end of Benji, and seen all the highlights. You know, Stacey's a little bit too old, but Stacey's my era.
Yeah.
You know, like
I remember
they've you know what? They've been lucky. Not lucky, man. The amount of talent that have come through that Warrior side, they deserve to win a premiership, and a premiership soon. Especially packing out, you know, the stadium and everyone on the back of the wires and the fucking mana wave. Like, it's all gravy, you know. So good luck to Shaun Johnson in your next endeavours, mate.
Well, let's move on to the preview.
Let's go.
All right, Ren. Let's see if we can keep up your stellar tipping performance as we rip into the round. We kick off.
It's not good last week. I got 6 from 8 from my tipping comp.
So your theory?
6. I didn't put any tips in for the first 6 games, and I changed it to the Dogs and Penrith. So, I got 6 out of 8.
The away games are huge again.
The away games.
Well, you might start off quite well here.
Okay, let's go.
Let's rip in. So we got Rabbitohs v Storm at a core, $5.50.
Yeah, let's not look too much into this one. You know, they're just ravaged with injury. Our bunnies, let's stick with Melbourne. They'll be disappointed after that game against the Dragons. So we've got Melbourne.
All right, we move on to the Titans, who were pretty impressive last week, especially late in the second half. $1.59 at home against the injury-ravaged Sharks.
Yeah, I really like what the team, that Titans team has turned into. That they're real Des sort of side, and yeah, given look Brisbane may be on the downward slope and no confidence. Like, you still got to score those points in the second half. You know, so I'm going to go Titans here. I think the Sharks, you know, especially with their halves gone down. You know, Nico's gone for the year potentially, I think.
Yeah, he's gone.
You know, Trindle's, they're two chief playmakers. You'll have young Atkinson there, but I'm not too sure who will play the other half. So I just feel like they're on a bit of a slide, the Sharks. I'm going to go against I'm going to pick a Titans team that's full of confidence.
Yeah, then they're really just starting to put more and more solid performances together.
Correct.
We move to the Battle of the West, and where it's Combank Stadium, Parramatta Eels, $5.80 against the Panthers, $1.14.
Yeah, the Battle of the West. I think, look, I'm not even going to bother going into it. Penrith, you know, this is all guns blazing now. This is where the Cleary goes, hey, this is where we're going to go into the semi-finals, put our stamp. I want 3-4 big games for you. I'll rest you in the last round. All right? Yeah. And then we go into the semi-finals and we go again. So I think they'll be ruthless to Penrith this week.
This next one's an interesting one. We've got the Raiders at home coming off like a really tough, like close loss.
Mm-hmm.
$2.26 against the Sea Eagles coming off the bye.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Because they would have zapped a lot of energy out of that team coming up to Sydney, playing at a fairly hostile ground. I thought Canberra were very good in the forwards. Fogarty's been great. I think they just lacked that little bit of class.
Yeah.
Down in Canberra, Manly. Where are Manly sitting?
They are 7.
So they both need to win, right?
Yeah.
I just think there might be just that bit of class that in Manly that Canberra don't have.
Yeah, definitely.
But I feel like it'll be a tight game, but they'll edge them out with that, you know, with Turbo, with DCE.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go Manly.
Nice. We've got the Battle of Queensland with the Cowboys back at home, $1.44 against the Broncos, $2.81.
Yeah, Broncos are done. I think Payne Haas might be out.
Payne Haas is out.
We've
got Ezra's out.
Yeah. Look, I just think there's too much noise around that club at the moment, and they'll be telling everyone in the media and anyone that'll listen to them that they aren't listening to any external noise. They are listening to it. Cowboys up there, you know, that old big brother, little brother rivalry. Cowboys, they want to finish top 4.
Yeah.
Foot on the throat, let's go. You know, we've had two wins in a row that probably haven't been great performances against the Doggies and the Tigers. So they want to turn the screw here and go, all right, again, 5 rounds to go. We need to fix all these little issues within our defence, and we want to put our foot on the throat and really go on with this competition to finish in the top 4. So I'm going to go Cowboys.
Yeah. We've got the big battle.
Massive. Doggies.
Doggies away, $1.64. Jubilee Stadium, $2.26. Dragons.
They won't be happy with that performance. The Dogs won't be happy with that performance. Now they're going up against another rivalry at a suburban ground. They're going to feel it there. It's another exciting game. Maybe the pressure of playing back at Belmore might have got to them a little bit. They got to fix their attack was off.
Yeah.
Their attack was off. And they need to fix a bit of their middle. So I'm expecting the Dogs to win, but another tough one at Oakey.
I'm just looking at special market here. So it says if Dogs win, over and unders on burnouts in the car park at 72.5.
There you go. They'll win the burnout battle.
They'll win the burnout battle. No, I just made that up. All right, We move on to the Dolphins coming off the loss to the Chooks, $1.40 against the Wars, who obviously got some injuries as well, $2.97.
Where's this game?
At Suncorp.
Oh, it's still a tough one to pick, man. Because Warriors had a great win. And, oh, no, they got beat by Para. Yeah. Sorry, yeah. This is the last roll of the dice for the Dolphins. You know, to really stay within reach of that top 8, like, because they're on that downward slide. I think this is the last roll of the dice, and I'm expecting a Wayne Bennett team to turn up. So I'm going to go the Dolphins because it's at home.
Yeah.
Even though, like, there's more Kiwis in Queensland than there is in New Zealand.
They're all
They'll be
up
coming
there.
up from the Gold Coast.
Straight up from the Goldie.
Sure, bro.
And we finish off the week with an absolute belter in Newcastle, $1.28 the Knights against the West Tigers.
Oh, yeah. Look, Tigers scoring points. Score points.
They can score points.
I really like that half and the back row. Finu? Is it Finu?
Yeah.
They brothers? I believe they are brothers. I'm really liking some. I'm seeing things within that side that obviously the inner sanctum that anyone within those 4 walls that the Tigers are seeing. I looked at, I think they had like 5 or 6 players and like 21, 22, 22, 23. Very young fucking core. And, you know, obviously with Jerome going there, I'm not saying they're going to make the 8 and they're going to turn things around, but there are promising signs there.
Definitely.
They're scoring points. They have a big defensive off-season.
They look like Benji coaches the attack and Benji coaches the defense.
There you go. Hey, Benji, man, you want a defensive coach, bro. You only have to listen to some of these reels I've been putting out, man. If you want some help,
there he is.
$300,000 a year.
I'll take.
And I only come in 1 day a week.
and I'll take 10%.
Yeah. I think Newcastle up there for sure.
Yeah, sweet. Well, that's a wrap, and we will see you next week.
What are you prepared to lose today? Set a deposit limit. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.